Hello and welcome back to Inside Update. This is a show brought to you by InsideInvestigator.org. We're a nonprofit newsroom where we focus on corruption in the state of Connecticut. Spoiler alert, we're very busy. There is no shortage of work, and I guess that's a good thing when you think about job security. But as we often joke about internally, man, we would love to work ourselves out of a job and just make sure that there's no corruption in Connecticut. We can go write about restaurants or something. I don't know. Brandon's a very talented writer. He is joining us today. My name's Connor Dragotis. I'm the managing editor. And Brandon Whiting, I want to talk with you about your newest investigation. It's called Displaced and Displeased. It's about a issue unfolding in Bridgeport. And I also want to make sure that we are grabbing some time to talk about the Putnam Science Academy. People are out there, they're talking, they're saying that Brandon brought this whole thing down. You have been chasing this for quite a while, exposing some alleged fraud, reporting on some pretty hefty accountability measures levied by the Department of Banking. We are going to get into all of that, but I want to start in Bridgeport. So tell us a little bit about what this investigation is. Again, Displaced and Displeased. It's on InsideInvestigator.org. Brandon, take it away.
So Mark actually was the one who got me in touch with Tamikia when he kind of got a whiff of her living situation. He's like, "Why are you living in a hotel?" And when she explained it to him, he's like, "This sounds like a good story." And when Mark explained it to me, I was like, "Yeah, this does sound like a good story." And Tamikia, she's been wonderful. There's not a better person for a more frustrating situation to happen to. Essentially, she was living in an apartment with her husband and with her stepdaughter and with one of her other daughters, thinking nothing of it, in Bridgeport. They lived there for probably a period of, counting months here, for a little over 3 full months, like getting into the 4th month, when all of a sudden she gets a knock on the door, and it's someone from the Bridgeport building department saying, just wanting to check the place out. And pretty quickly she realizes that she's going to have to leave the apartment because, unbeknownst to her this whole time, the landlord had been renting it out without the proper permitting or approvals. The house was located in a place that was not zoned for anything other than single-family homes. And as she's not a family member, they're not supposed to take paying tenants. None of this was made aware to her. She had no idea that she was in, an illegal apartment. But she had to bear the brunt of it, and she basically, had to uproot her family, move on very short notice, and foot the whole cost for relocation when she never should have. That was actually on the city to help her out, but they never made her aware of her rights. So that's kind of the story in, from the 20,000-foot view.
Well, let's bring this plane down a little bit lower here and get into some of the details, because this was fascinating to me. And you're right. I love it when internally, our reporters are saying, "Hey, I got this great story, Brandon. I think you're the guy to write it. Catherine, I think you're the one who should take this." Like I don't even think it's horse trading. It's just genuine good co-workerness that's going on where I think our team is playing to each other's strengths. What stood out to me about this whole thing is, first, the way allegedly that this apartment came to Tamikia is because it was the wife of a city official who said this would be a great apartment for you, right? So this kind of, it started with someone from government making, an act of kindness, and it really ended on the other side with a similar government official knock on the door. You touched on this a little bit, but could you elaborate? There is not a safety issue known here. There is not anything like really wrong with the apartment. You have photos of it. It looks gorgeous. It was very strictly the owners just didn't pull the permit, didn't check the box, didn't pay the protection money to get the thing to work on it. I mean, it seems like there's nothing actually wrong with the place that would have put this family at risk, is what I'm driving at. None of that has been alleged, correct?
To my awareness, no. I don't know. I think perhaps like it wouldn't have passed a fire inspection. I do believe Tamikia had said that at one point in time, but there's no like glaring safety issues, no, none that I'm aware of. It truly is just an issue of the landlord did not do their due diligence and kind of tried to, streamline things without kind of going through the proper procedures with the city. And once the city got wind of it, they were not too pleased. So that's my understanding.
Let's talk a little bit about what not too pleased means here as well. So there's this knock on the door. And I guess, obviously the full headline here is Displaced and Displeased. Bridgeport tenant denied help after forced relocation. And I want to talk a little bit about that forced relocation because despite the fact that this person is here ostensibly to enforce rules, there are some allegations that maybe they didn't follow the right procedure themselves when alerting this family to the situation. Could you talk a little bit about the allegations there?
Yeah, so essentially there is this seemingly little known bill. I wasn't aware of it. Maybe that's an indictment on me as a journalist. I don't know. Whatever. Unashamed. I wasn't aware of it. I know Tamikia certainly wasn't aware of it. Who knows? Maybe if we're being really charitable, these building department officials weren't aware of it either. But I don't think I would be so charitable as to assume that. It's called the Uniform Relocations Assistance Act. Basically, it was a federal bill passed all the way back in the 70s. A lot of states have their own state versions of the bill. Connecticut passed its own state version of the bill a year afterwards. And it pretty much just very clearly stipulates that in cases where, the government, whether that be a state or federal agency, or whether that be any sort of municipal authority, is the reason for you having to move, whether that's because you're in like a, public housing and they have to do some sort of very big renovation where the tenants can't live there, or whether it's an eminent domain type of situation. Excuse me. They're supposed to basically help you. They're supposed to give you money to assist you with the relocation costs. And essentially, anytime that there is a written order to vacate placed on your property by a municipal or state authority, they're supposed to give you money to relocate. And that just did not happen here. Tamikia was never made aware that this was a thing. I was the one who made her aware of it. And furthermore, very specifically, it says a written order to vacate. So she got a written order on the door as a notice of a violation that had occurred, but she never got a written order to vacate, or if she did, she had already left the apartment. Nobody told her that that's what she needed to get compensation because nobody told her this law existed. She didn't even know that she could get compensation. And whenever she tried, she just got very mixed messaging. I mean, she went to the zoning department, social services, got bounced between social services and fair rent. Fair rent has nothing to do with this, so I don't even know how they would bounce them to them. And the building department. And, this was a several day process. I believe it was April 3rd when they first notified her, and she didn't move her stuff out until April 9th and didn't fully move out until April 10th. So they had basically a week. Several city departments, municipal officials had about a week to let her know, like, hey, we can help you here. But nobody did. So, whether we attribute this to, malice or ignorance, I'm not sure, but there were some things in here that looked kind of suspect to me.
Well, let's talk about those impacts as well, because you're right. By not providing the written notification, or as Tamikia alleges too, this person said, "Hey, listen, you got to get out." And because it was verbal, she said, "Listen, okay, I get it. There's something going on. We're going to start making other plans." But because she did the right thing, followed, what she understood to be the process, they are able to say, okay, all these resources, we don't have to distribute them, right? So
Yeah.
she just gets cut off from the pathways of support that hypothetically she should have been able to rely on. And I think the other thing that I want to point out is that, there have been some really significant downstream effects here. I mean, it's a relatively, minor issue. We don't, again, whether we don't really know about safety, we do know that there's, a permit violation, but they basically unhouse these people. They were having to live in a motel. They're having to split up their family. Their children are having to go live with other siblings, be broken apart. This is not an easy situation. And on top of that, it has now led to this family who I don't know. Everyone should go and look at the images in this. Tamikia is an incredibly talented seamstress. Like the dresses that you have pictures of that she has made for, little girls are stunningly beautiful. And this family is going to leave Connecticut because of this. They just said, hey, we can't do this. We're going to go somewhere where our lives are going to be better, easier, more able to live and work. This seems like a community loss as well, which, maybe that's neither here nor there. But when we talk about the impact of corruption, it's human. It's ultimately human beings who are impacted. And I really had to shake my head as I read this and as I edited this. And, after we published too, it kept coming back to me as someone with a family with young kids that this human impact was huge. And all this guy had to do was say, here's the piece of paper, here's the resources. How can I help you? Am I just being too charitable here about the way I think people should act? Am I too much of an optimist? Maybe, I don't know. You can take it from here. Tell me a little bit about, those conversations with the family a little bit, maybe, what did they say the impact was for them? You had the direct contact.
Yeah. I mean, just feelings of betrayal all around, which was kind of sad. Tamikia and her husband, they were both talking about how they'd, over time built a really good relationship with their landlord. So felt betrayed by them because the landlord, after this all occurred, just tried lying to the building officials, allegedly. We did reach out to her, surprisingly, did not want to talk back. I kind of expected that. So the landlord lied, kind of didn't do anything to help. I mean, lied to her about the legality of the apartment knowingly, lied to the city about, she's a member of my family, she's not a paying tenant. Then apparently got upset at her when she told the building official that, she showed us a voicemail actually left by the landlord, where she was pretty much just getting upset at her for letting the building official in the first place. So betrayal by city officials, which, Tamikia says that she was very close with all of these people because, once again, getting back to the sort of communal aspect of it, the communal impact where she's leaving. I mean, she was a very active member of her community. Her and her husband both were small business owners. She was a part of I believe the Small and Minority Business Enterprise was the name of the organization. So she would go to City Hall once a month because in City Hall, they would have like a monthly small business sort of festival type deal where everyone would sell their wares. And, it's supposed to promote small business owners who are local. And through that, I mean, she met a bunch of municipal officials. So it's not only is that important for just kind of showing to you, why this woman feels betrayed by just everybody involved, but also kind of gets after the point of, if it could happen to someone who knows city officials by name and has council members on call who recognize her and know her face, then, and she's still getting, for lack of a better term, screwed over. I mean, what do you think is going to happen to anybody else in the same situation? It's just kind of crazy to me. So yeah, there's definitely the human impact here. I mean, they're moving to another state because of this, and their pockets are a lot lighter because of this. So yeah, it's just kind of screwed up all around.
Without a doubt. Again, folks, this investigation is called Displaced and Displeased. Bridgeport tenant denied help after forced relocation. You can find that on insideinvestigator.org. I'm also seeing in the comments here, Tamikia wrote in during that last little bit. I'm just seeing this now. Just some kind words saying happy Thursday. Thank you so much for bringing this to light. We appreciate you, and Inside Investigator Tamikia. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for working with Brandon. I know he's a very talented reporter, so I'm just so excited that we were able to bring this out there. Folks, if you are tuning in, listening to this, whether it's live on Thursday as we are recording and streaming this, or you're listening to it on the radio later, insideinvestigator.org. That's right on the homepage of our website, and you can read all about the situation as it has unfolded so far. Let's switch gears. Got another 15 minutes. We're halfway through this episode. I want to talk about Putnam Science Academy. We got, well, you know what? I want you to tell the news of what actually broke just the other day, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about the beginning of this and your original investigation. Award-winning investigation that tackled it initially. What's the latest news here that you put out in an article just yesterday?
Yeah. Well, firstly, sorry. I just want to thank you, Tamikia. Thank you, Jamie. Back to this, though. Yes. So essentially, we got news that, as we have kind of anyone who's been familiar with the situation has kind of just been waiting for this to occur, perhaps surprised it's taken this long to occur, that the school is closing. And it just, everything that we know about the situation, it sounds like just as much of a disaster as everyone I spoke to way back in, what was it, 2024 at this point? I think it was November of 2024. I mean, it's exactly as everyone predicted, you know. This guy owes the entire world money, seemingly. And now there's a bunch of students who don't know whether their diplomas are actually going to count for anything, because they'd also been hiding the fact that, oh yeah, whoops, we weren't accredited since November, which is just insane. So yeah, it's basically there's a big disaster going on in Putnam, and I really do feel for the families who are impacted by this, and for the employees who are just waiting on their checks. And you know, they got to go through the labor department now to get them back, it seems like. So yeah, it's a disaster.
Well, you have another investigation called Lasting Marks, which I think is probably relevant there as well, which is trying to claw back money from employers, and some of the ways that can be fraught as well. I don't want to go too far into that, but you kind of have this habit, this growing reputation for being in on something and then watching the pieces just keep coming. I think you might, I got to go back and watch the episode where we talked about your original investigation. You are right. It was November 2024 when we published that. It's called Khan Academy, private school allegedly defrauding Chinese immigrants. It won first place in the Connecticut Press Club Communications Award for specialty articles. You pretty much hit the nail on the head, a year and a half ago. Maybe, yeah, close there. I guess, could you just talk a little bit about what you saw then, almost 2 years ago now, when you were actually doing the work to put the thing together? What did you see then that has now come true in the public eye?
I don't want to toot my own trumpet here. Really, it's through the strength of sourcing that I can say this, but literally everything. I mean, every single thing that we spoke to with every single person. We spoke to former employees. We spoke to people who were allegedly defrauded themselves. We spoke to Ding and his wife themselves. And I mean, it's just, the allegations were that, these two were misrepresenting themselves as, esteemed educators and capable of running a private school. They had no experience in running private schools beforehand. Correction, actually, I do believe they may have. I think they had some experience running like a small, like Chinese English class. I think that was like the only level of experience, but not running an entire private high school. So yeah, just pretty much every allegation has at least been found to be credible by the state's banking department, which is, stuck kind of stuck a fork into them. I don't know, probably not the best phraseology, but the best I can think of off of the top of my head.
Well, could you tell us a little bit about that? Because you put out this investigation in, again, November of 2024. You actually sat down, you went and talked to Ding and Fang, the co-owners, husband and wife of PSA. You were with them for what, 3 hours or so? Like,
Yeah,
it was a really extensive. You got the tour, they rolled out the red carpet for you, and then you hit them with some really hard questions. That all came together. Talk about that if you want, but then also, yeah, tell us what happened with the Department of Banking, and I guess where that stands now. If they're closing, it's a lot of money still floating out there.
Yeah, it's more money than any. Don't get me started. So yes, I reached out to them because obviously at the time of the original investigation, because I mean, these are some crazy allegations for anyone. I think if anyone's getting a story written about them saying, hey, basically, you're a career con man and your school is bleeding money, like, yeah, you gotta get their side of the story, at least give them a chance to comment. And I was surprised. They were very, I guess, I don't know if transparent is the correct word, but they were very open to appearing transparent by, just bringing me down to the school, showing me around, gave me a guided tour. And that lasted for maybe like an hour, maybe a little longer, maybe like an hour and a half. But, they showed me the basketball team, which has been like the pride and joy of that school since it's been a school, even predating their ownership of it. Showed me sort of the athletic facilities, classrooms. I must say, Ding, he did know pretty much every student's name as we walked by. The appearances were there. I mean, things were, you could tell the building was a little old, and even Ding himself is honest, like, oh, this needs renovations, that needs renovations. There were certainly some, facility updates that could be made, but on the surface, I could see if you're a parent bringing your kid to the school, and they're giving you the same tour that they gave me, I could understand how, especially because so many of these people are from different countries, you think things are on the up and up. You think this is an academy, especially if your kid is an athlete that can really get your kid to the next level. They have gotten a lot of kids, particularly in basketball, to D1 schools. So the appearance of this school they did a really good job. I'll say that. But just behind the scenes, when I actually got the chance to sit down and ask some financial questions, yeah, things got very chaotic very fast. It was one of those uncomfortable conversations, as a reporter, where I'm just like, half of me is like, oh, this is bad, but the other half of me is like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting this right now.
We're rolling,
so,
right?
Yeah, since that article was published, one of our sources actually, they had reached out to me and had made me aware, because I mean, that's the thing that really, everyone I talked to for this story at the time, they just seemed so desperate to have anything done about this. They had reached out to God knows how many authorities, the FBI, the Attorney General, the mayor, the police. Like there's like a whole list of different authorities that these people have reached out to. And after the story had gotten published, I was sent a screenshot of an email from a banking department investigator. And they're like, see, like, your story's like actually turning some heads. And it directly mentioned the story. They're like, oh, I think I've pieced together. And they were asking for, the pseudonyms that I gave people to match it to the real names. And so, it was all quiet for a little bit. And then it was sometime late last year, I want to say, when the banking department
2025. Yep.
Or yeah, sometime last year when the banking department kind of just hit them and said, look, you guys have violated CUTPA, the state's Unfair Trade Practices Act. You have to pay $5 million in restitution on top of the millions that they had already owed. And if they're found, liable or guilty on the CUTPA violations, then they'd have to pay $100K per violation. And since there was two, Ding and Fang both got hit with two apiece, that'd be an extra $400,000 that they could potentially pay. And so they are given the chance, is my understanding, to do kind of like a hearing to plead their case. And those hearings have been delayed and delayed. So it is going to be in September of this year now, when it was originally, I believe, slated for last November. So, the verdict isn't out there, but I would say the way things are looking, I don't think it's looking too good for them. So yeah, I mean, things have just, it's crazy. It's been crazy to see.
One thing after another. And
Yeah.
again, you've done a fantastic job following it and also developing relationships. Tamika and Jamie both have commented since we last mentioned them here. And Tamika writes, Brandon is one of a kind heart who wants the best for people. And I definitely agree with that assessment. It's one of the reasons, folks, if you're out there and you're aware of something going wrong, Brandon's a great person to email or call because he's going to show up. He shows up with a smile and he does the work to get it right. Right. He has a heart for this work that's genuine. As you could see when you read this, I think he's one of the most thorough people who I've ever met. Especially, he puts pen to paper. It's this blend of human storytelling and documents backing it up. And then every once in a while, he's sneaking in these things too that I'm like, wow, this is just fun to read. Like the talent backs up and ties the whole thing together. So if you are out there and you are going through something or you are aware of something that is going wrong, you can email tips@insideinvestigator.org, email Brandon at insideinvestigator.org. Put this stuff on this guy's radar because it is absolutely going to be handled as a white glove service and result in a really fantastic product that gets the job done, right? As Brandon just said, you reach out to a lot of officials. I am sure that the FBI gets a lot of tips. I'm not going to knock them for not getting to everything right away. But you know what? If something's going to sit and languish and we can help put pressure to pursue our mission of rooting out corruption, and that lights a fire under the Attorney General or the FBI or law enforcement or anyone to actually do something, I also count community action there. Man, that's a big win. That's a really big win. Brandon, we are just in the last couple minutes here. Any last words on either of these two topics? Anything else that I'm missing regarding elements of your work or things that you would want people to reach out to you about? And then we'll put a bow on this.
Nothing in particular, but I do just want to, I guess, really hammer home the point that you were getting at there, where, people just all the time, I see like and it's understandable. I would even agree with it. Like if you're someone who has a grievance, sometimes we get people who reach out to us too early where it's like, we can't really even, it hasn't even seen its day in court or yada, yada. Like, reach out to us a little bit later down the line. But people kind of treat the press as like, the action of last resort. And I think that is kind of a good place to put us. Like if you have reached out to the authorities, if you've been pounding on people's tables, pounding on their desks, pounding on their doors, asking for things to happen, can you look into this man who's defrauding millions of dollars from several people and they have all of the documentation to back it up? You would think like, yeah, that'd be kind of shut and closed. But sometimes, we don't understand how these things work. It's not. And when it's not, I think the best thing to do to kind of get some action, to get public agencies or services or even private ones for that matter to feel accountable, is to put it out there. We got to air out people's dirty laundry if you ever want anything to change, because once the public learns about things like this, I mean, surprise, people get pretty upset about it. And they're like, yeah, why the hell isn't somebody doing something about this? So yeah, I just think, don't be afraid. We have a long and storied record at this point of trying to that's a horrible way to phrase it, of keeping our sources protected. I've never not protected a source, and I don't think anyone here hasn't protected a source, and we do a pretty darn good job at it. So yeah, if you know something, if you see something, say something, basically. It's the short way to say all that.
100%. I think I have the bumper stickers that say that, actually. If you want one of them, send us an email too. We'll send it out to you. Folks, huge thank you for tuning in. So greatly appreciative of all of our wonderful sources, our subscribers, those who visit insideinvestigator.org and pay close attention to this essential news, and also to our donors. We're a nonprofit newsroom, meaning that we only accept money that is voluntarily donated to support our mission to root out corruption. If that sounds like something you'd like to support, please head over to insideinvestigator.org, hit that donate button in the top right-hand corner, and help buy Brandon another cup of coffee. Folks, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thank you again. And until we return, please don't be corrupt.